Okay, did any of us was introduced to this idea that there is no body? Like there is no person, there is no body. And you were probably, if you were, it was at the right moment, at the right time, there may have been a big movement, you would feel something really shake out. But unbeknownst, at least to me, after I had that big aha run through me for a while, that event had been claimed by the head without me knowing it. And there was another, it just swallowed it up, that revelation that I wasn't a body, and it was now held as a body. So Paul was walking around as a body, having this idea that it's not a body, which doesn't go anywhere, to tell you the truth. So I had no idea that that happened. Didn't know. I thought I heard the message, bam, whack, I'm not a body. Fantastic. I didn't know that something can be paused, but as long as you continue, it's going to show back up. And then it showed back up and claimed it. And then without me knowing it, or without a knowing of it, I was now holding this idea of not being a body as a body. See, as you can see, it's not going to go anywhere. And this is what I felt when I started to hear satsang. I felt something strange going on, and something that I just had a strong inclination to see something was off. And then I started to understand this idea of the quickness of this claiming by the mental state. And I had a lot of ideas that claiming idea brought out into the open. One thing is, I would admit that there was a very quick movement of claiming, but I thought certain topics were exempt, like spirituality or certain forms of spirituality would be exempt from claiming, which was proven not to be true. So there was all these misunderstandings that would come up, based on this fact of this super fast movement of the head to claim whatever it's brought into contact with. So I humbly, from basically a lot of reverse engineering and just sitting, instead of facing forward, sitting backwards, I learned a lot. And so this is why when we did the first talk, the first video, it was the sheep and lion video. It's a very old story from India. Ramana used it, yes, and we've done it thousands of times. But usually the story ends when the young lion, who had lost the sense of its lionness because of its mother dying quickly and then being adopted by a sheep herd and believing it was a sheep, all the while being a lion, to the point that if it heard about being a lion, it would have a desire to become a lion or not to become a lion. But the sheep was just stubbornly like cemented in, even though it was a lion every moment that it was taking itself to be a sheep. So in this story, the young lion is revealed by the old lion by having the old lion drags it to a water hole and puts both their heads over the water, and then the young lion sees the reflection of the old lion, and he's very clear that the old thing is a lion. So when it sees the old lion and it looks exactly the same, it gets that it's a lion. It doesn't matter how long it thought it was a sheep, it just was instantaneous whack. And it didn't, no matter how much space it had lived as a sheep, now how much time it had lived as a sheep, that had nothing to do with it. It was a sudden realization, a whack. And then the old lion goes roar, and it roars. Where at this point, the second before, the only way it could think it could roar would be by learning it. Because of being a sheep. So it gets whacked. And that's the end of the story. Now, that didn't seem to be the end of the story. It didn't. And so it felt, was so strong, the feeling. Excuse me a second. It felt so strong that it was something just told me, don't move from this point. because if you don't see this point, you're going to be looking from it. You're going to be looking from the point of a sheep programming all the while being a lion. Yeah. And the sheep can have a desire to become like a lion. And that's going to be, it sounds like very noble and very worthwhile, but it'll be used to reinforce the idea it's not a lion. Yeah. So its desire to become a lion isn't bringing you closer to becoming a lion, because you already are a lion. So when you already are what you want to become, any becoming is taking away from what you already are. It's just the way duality works. The head works, yeah? And this is just the head. It's not individual. There's no choice of volition in it. It's mechanical. This is how I saw it. So there's the claiming of stuff, and then the claiming of stuff is seen as what the claimer is a sheep, let's say, with this story. Okay, so the end of the thing is the older lion goes, the young lion, and it's the end of the story. And in the story, it seems to be enough just to see the imagery and recognize you're a lion. But I don't see it that way. By going a lot of satsangs, not a lot, but seeing non-duality being presented, I see some big fucking holes in it. Yeah. And they're not being filled with an understanding. They're just left there. Yeah. So there's the whack, and you get the free sample, but then the head gets over the whack and claims to be the one who got the free sample. Yeah. And before you knowing it, you're living as that once again, because it's so quick in time, you're pretty much asleep at the wheel. And then when you wake up, you're the driver. Yes. Yeah. So this thing whacked me to a point where I realized, hey, it's all beautiful, some of these messages, but they're not doing it because the claiming of it hasn't been expressed or explained, or at least reinforced enough that it became like a working understanding, because it's going to happen. And this process of selfing in time, I feel, is the quickest process. Yeah. When there's doing, the recognition of the doing is the sense of being the doer is so fast. Yeah. That I don't believe doing is going to get you before the doer. I don't. Yeah. And I used to see it when I would be on a meditation retreat, because I had an idea of meditation, and the head had already adapted as being a meditator. And so as my ass was moving to the cushion, I was already seen as a meditator. So all the meditating wasn't to get over that first fact that was put in, which isn't a fact, that I'm the meditator. Yeah. And I don't believe more is going to work. Grace can work. You can get whacked, but I don't believe more of it can work, because the process that's at work before all you're working a process is going to have you as a self. It's going to have you as the doer of these efforts. Yeah. And then what you ran into when you started to present this idea, you ran into this very strange aroma of volition and being the doer of it and choice. So there was a built-in guilt. Yeah, because you don't want to have knowledge of this because it's presented as you're doing it. And who wants to know that you're fooling your fucking self? But it's not you. Yeah, but it's presented to you, and you just rather keep that in the closet. You don't want to see it. It's more shit to hold on to, what I have to deal with. But so you have to keep explaining it as a mechanical action, a mental mechanical action. And this is and then a lot of things that I used to see made a whole lot of sense. And when I used to see people have a verified whack, yeah, and then it seemed to be lost because they thought all this activity that's not them was them, and they thought the whack must have vibrated through all of that because it was all of them. And all of that wasn't demonstrating it got anything. It was doing the same old shit. And it was weird. So there was actually a denial that was birthed from that. Yeah, because you get a whack and you think all of the cloth that is you should be dyed. And that's, it seems to be a rational thing, but a lot of the cloth that you're wearing, you're not the cloth. This is mechanicalness, mental mechanicalness that you're seemingly wearing, or it's like hanging on you. And therefore, when you change or something, doesn't mean it changes, because it's not of you. And this is what I saw. So a lot of people, even though they've had this huge longing, when the simplicity of recognizing what you already are hit, it wouldn't last that long, because it couldn't last in time, because the head would claim it and would say, well, look at you, still doing this, you're still doing that, so you're disqualified. It's insane. So now it's worse for people that thought they weren't awake and woke up and then they lose it. It's worse. It's almost like someone who goes out after 20 years and drinks again. It's almost worse, because there's a huge knowing better and knowing differently. And now the same old craving and urge is running the show. And it always surprises them completely. Because I've witnessed some people that were close to me that had 20 years sobriety. And when that urge came back, they were completely surprised, because it hadn't been there for a long time. Yeah. So this thing, it's mechanical, and it's a very, very fast process. And basically, whatever we're doing is a process. We're trying to apply a process to another process, literally. And in the world of process, this is how I see it, is the first process is the most influential, and it affects the processes that come after it, and the processes that come after it do not affect it. So the self gets injected through the first process into everything you're doing, and then it's always seen as you doing it. So you're thinking you're taking a cure, but it's full of the problem, in a way, if you want to call it a problem. The serum isn't pure serum. It's got a lot of selfing in it. Yeah. So now everything you do to sort of get out of something, you're doing it as that's something you'd like to get out of, or that's how it's presented. Yeah. And if you've been having faith and listening to your head, like the Course of Miracles says, why would you not? If you made it to be yourself and you let it to become your eyes, and basically its interpretation that is to the body, you're going to listen to as your interpretation. As it says, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. So why would we suspect? Well, we do. A lot of people have come to a suspicion of it, because especially in addiction, because any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. I mean, when you let it be flamboyant, it shows its fucking flaws, FLAWSs. Maybe in a middle of the way, it can kill you slowly, or, kill you softly. But if you let it go full, it always shows itself. It always overplays the hand. Yeah. So to me, the addicts that aren't dead and the alcoholics that have recovered are like the canaries in the coal mine. You should listen to their song, because they have been driven by this drive of the mental activity of selfing, and they have been driven, and luckily through grace they survived. So they can tell us how, because what you can't see when it's just in a sort of medium spectrum, when it's flamboyant, you can notice it. Yeah. So you can notice, and I noticed something that defeated me was not me, was not of me. It was not of me. And it was the most important recognition of it, because its whole something is talking to us. The head talks to us as us, but it isn't talking as us. It's talking from its head. Yeah, it has an interpretation of life that's different than ours, or what ours could be. Yeah, because we don't start at the interpretation moment. We start at the conscious contact moment, which is the no moment at all. Conscious contact is the initial, like, fucking big bang, so to speak, of everyone's moment. Yeah. The conscious contact, we're starting from an interpretation that it's me that's conscious. And the me is held as a body. And consciousness doesn't seem to hold itself as a body. But in our head, consciousness is held as an attribute a body has. So when we're talking about I'm conscious, all I am is consciousness, that all that you are is pictured usually as a body. That's how that's how the head remembers you. The head does not remember you as spirit. It doesn't remember you as a non-organic thing, no thing. It pictures you as a body. And the brain keeps interpreting to the body because it is a part of it. Yeah. If you can't try to teach this thing new tricks, it's going to just do the same old tricks. And so this is what happened with me. It whacked me. I was listening to satsangs. I didn't go to that many, but I heard some. And I heard, like, the real great jokes was the obviousness of what we seem to be missing. Where one of the guys I went to see, it's the last time I ever went there, and he was from the Zen lineage, and he was talking to a big group, and knowing it or not, the big group looked like he had something that the rest of the group didn't have. And to me, that was dualistic right there. And so they were there to get something that they didn't have from this guy. Yeah. So, and he said he actually made a statement that captures that. And he says, hey, and he started laughing. It's an old Zen saying, I'm like a man standing by the river selling water. And this is exactly what was going on. Everyone was wet, and most of us didn't know it. And so we were hoping to get some wetness, which, when you are already wet, getting wetness is a denial of your wetness. Yes, don't you see it? It's so fucking obvious. It's like the first trip, and then you fall down the whole stairs. Yeah, everyone wants to describe the 50th stair. It's the first trip. The first, and then it's just whatever. The momentum keeps going. So then he started laughing, and he said something even funnier. He said, I'm like a man standing in the river selling water. And then I got that. I got exactly the futility of what I was looking at, what I was watching. And nothing right or wrong with it, but the futility, it was soaked with futility. Yeah. And so what are you going to do? I don't know. I stopped doing everything. And then people would call me and say, oh, there's this great teacher coming, and I'd miss them. And not miss them. I would keep missing them. And I just started, I kept the spiritual pants had fallen down. I didn't pick it up. I just hung around. All right. And then I saw it. I saw a lot of it. Yeah. And it had a lot of weight to it and meat, because not only did I could read it, I saw it in my own language. Yeah. How I sense stuff. Yeah. And then it seemed to match by what I was reading. And what it came to me, I ran into this one statement. And if you ever get introduced to Ramana Maharshi's teachings, a lot of different people wrote them. Yeah. Because I think he only wrote one thing in his own dialect. So a lot of people that sat with him would write about his teachings, and they're pretty succinct. And so when you read them, you'll see the same thing said different ways in some of them, but not everything that's said, but like primary points will be said in all the writings may be said in a little different manner, but it's usually held in the problem or the greatest mystery. So you should perk up a little bit, because he's going to lay some good shit on you when it says the problem, greatest mystery. Yeah. And so this one was, there's a presupposing. Yeah. I like the word assuming better, because me and Amelia have done a lot of assuming. We've assumed a lot of stores were open when they were closed. We didn't call, And we were surprised when we got there and they were closed, yet on their door, they said they're closed on Saturday. But we just assumed they weren't. And we didn't check it in, and we just based our morning based on the store was going to be open when we got there. Oh, wow. And it says right there, it's never open on Saturdays, you know. And then we go back and then we assume something else. So here it says pre-assuming, which is amazing. Yeah, because something will be assumed, but what it's going to do is pre-assume something. This is the beauty of the head, because if you felt you were becoming a self, you'd probably move away from that. But how self is presented in you is you already are one. Yeah. So there's time is one of the biggest weights here. Time and space are the fundamentals of dreaming. Yeah. You have to have space to see things in, and you have to have time to see them. Yeah. So time and space have a lot of meaning in this interpretive event. So here's this historical feeling that gets triggered every time there's a doing and your head claims to be the doer, it piles on and as the historical doer. So that little weight you're raising as the doer of that one little event is matched with a historical weight of being the doer. It's almost as if the fish came for the bait, and it's not a fish, it's just consciousness or whatever. And then the bait, it moves towards the bait, and when it gets the bait, it sees itself as a fish and as a historical fish. So at that moment, when you're becoming self, you've already been one for many, many years. Isn't that insane? And so the head, complete efficiency, has an idea that the verb of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, thinking, doing implies that there's a someone doing it. Yeah. And that someone's going to be pictured as a body. So now, and there's so much doing, there's so much seeing, there's so much thinking, there's so much feeling. It's going to use all of that that's abundantly going on at all times to imply there's a doer, a thinker, a feeler, a taster, a toucher. Yeah. So one doing triggers the historical doer of many fucking thousands of things. So even though you may have a drive to move, you're so weighed down. It's unbelievable, literally. And I don't believe there's anything you can do about it except becoming aware of it. Not becoming aware of it after, but becoming aware of it before. So see it before it's the historical self. And then see how it's presented as a historical self. And you'll see the emperor with no clothes. You will see it. And then the beauty of it is you will also see the emperor with no clothes when it's wearing clothes after a certain time. Yeah. That whack of seeing it with no clothes on, you'll be fooled again when it puts clothes back on. But when you there's a point where the understanding triggers a knowing that no matter how much or how little the emperor is wearing, it has no clothes. It's incredible. Very nice. Then you can really just travel lighter without any maintenance or much. Yeah. You just have to do surface maintenance, like try not to talk to Comcast for 3 hours in the morning from 9 to 12. Because on the surface, you're going to be pissed off and frustrated. Yeah. Yeah. So it would probably be better not to, but it's all forgotten. But it's insane, really. We had 3 accounts without knowing. We had 3 accounts. And we had another one called Paul Henderson. Also, it seemed like we had 4 modems and fucking things in this one house. When we didn't have, all you had is one, and it's been shut down. They keep shutting it off when we say, hey, so we went on 3 hours. It's just insane. Insane. So whatever. But this is this place, yeah? So I'm humbly saying there's nothing you need to do. because whatever you do is probably going to be used to reinforce the idea of being the doer. Now you're going to do a lot of shit, but now you can see it. And now the claiming of being the doer is used to realize you're not that which is claimed to be the doer. So this is working in this dreaming. We're using duality to produce the opposite effect. So what we used to constantly see and call me, you now greet it with I'm not that. Wow. So what changes is the audience. Yeah. The audience stops giving, manufacturing consent for the fucking bullshit and just and then yay for what's before. And just like you're going to express whatever's driving you, whatever's moving you, you're going to express that. Yeah. And you'll travel lighter here. And after a while, you realize that what more do you want? Yeah. This place is a place of weight and scales, and it's all imaginary. Yeah. You cannot stick a fucking thermometer in someone and get their emotional condition. It's all made up. It's all interpretive. We're having a subjective dreaming going on, and it's held as an object, which is the essence of duality. The subject object of where we're standing or sitting right now is the essence of what's saying not duality. Sometimes you feel like you're thought about, that means you're an object. Sometimes you feel like you're the thinker, that means the subject. It just switches back and forth, yet the object and the subject are seen to be the same thing, which is a body. Yeah. You're not going to beat it, but you can see it. Yeah. This isn't about, you do not, if you're listening to this, there's no orders that are coming. There's no orders. There's no, oh, you've got it, no changing, fucking nothing. We're just giving, instead of the awareness being cahoots with the trick, it's going to abstain from the trick. So the greatest quality that we are, that has been taken over by the activity of selfing, is now not taken over by the activity of selfing. So before the awareness is seen as you looking, you're aware of that you looking. Yeah. You're aware of how the awareness has been put, a saddle has been put on it and all this shit, and we call it me looking. But it's not me looking, it's awareness. It's pure, there's no pure awareness, radical awareness, extreme awareness. There's just awareness, and awareness seems to be before everything. Yeah. And therefore, no matter how fast a process is in time, it can't beat that, because this is no process, it's not of time. Yeah. So all the gunslingers of the mental activity can't outdraw what's always drawn. Yeah. I saw it, I felt it, I've been moved by it. Yeah. And when you hit that point, there's no you looking to see if there's anything before. You have gone to the event horizon to you, and that's it. Yeah. And this is, the knowing is not of that. The being is of that. The knowing is of what you're not. To try to know what you are is another way of denying what you are. Yeah. So this is a knowing of what you're not, and a knowing of a lot of things. Knowing of where the hummingbirds are nesting, knowing the feeling of wind and all the possibilities happening right now. Yeah. But there's no wasted moment where you're trying to find out what you are. You're just finding out about a lot of other shit. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been working. It's sort of, in time, it has become the last answer where I'm sitting, which is amazing, because it's an answer. The last answer takes any need for any other answer away concerning this topic. And no, none of the spiritual invitations I received when I was younger did that. It was always more and better and transcending higher and more levels of purification. It was just more. This is just completely a loss of interest in all that. Yeah. You're just here. And then the obvious, like Zen says, blue will be blue and red will be red. It becomes obvious. Yeah. And so one more thing, because we have guests here tonight. I want to take an old Zen saying and then adding a stanza to it. Yeah. Forgive me, all traditionalists, but I think they missed the stanza. And how I heard it was, first there is a mountain, then there is no mountain. Yeah, and then there's the mountain again. Now, I believe that the missing stanza was before first there is a mountain. And the missing stanza is first there is no mountain, then there's a mountain, and then we do all this shit with the hopes that it disappears, and it does, but then it reappears again, as always, because you always show up at the party that you think you're at. And as soon as you show up, the party sucks. Yeah. So most people we're starting in a faith in there is a mountain. And then we're hoping and working to make it not be a mountain. And then inevitably always reappears as a mountain again. But what would happen if you started with there is no mountain? And then there was an appearance of a mountain, and you'd probably have no real interest to make that appearance disappear. But even if you did, it would disappear, and then it would appear again. And when it appeared again, you wouldn't be frustrated or being upset or fucking believe you failed, because you realize first there is no mountain. Yeah. But to try to negate a reality that we've already gave it by saying first there is a mountain, to me, is pointless. Yeah. And so I believe a lot of invitations in this world are missing the earliest stanzas that clear everything up. Yeah. You may do all this and all that, but you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything is lost. And now it says you may need to do this or that, which you may, yeah, in this place. But the statement was you need do nothing. Yeah. So these things like events happen, deeds are done, but there's no individual doer thereof. You could say there's no individual doer thereof. Yeah. And then people would question the reality of events and actions. But see, he's beautiful. He says, hey, events happen, deeds are done, but there's no individual doer thereof. Yeah. Perfectly surgical targeting of negation to the subject. Not denying things are happening or events are going on, but denying the fact that there's an individual doer of it all. That's all that's necessary. Yeah. So if you start there won't be a finish. You'll be at the finish, and it will just play itself out as it's going to do. Yeah. And just like I forget most of the days when I go to sleep, you're going to pass away and you won't remember fucking squat. It'll be like nothing ever happened. Literally. Because nothing ever happened. This is dreaming. How can it not be dreaming? If something was real, it would impose its reality on you. I was in a wing of a hospital getting run over, and I was airlifted there. It had to be a teaching hospital because I had extreme damage, and a number of people that were in this wing had this very similar damage. Yeah, physical trauma to the very same level. And now there was like 11 of us on that floor, and the people that were working there wanted us to talk to each other when we could. Some of us weren't ready, so that we could share and be of help to each other. And some people started drinking because of the trauma. Some people stopped drinking. Yeah. So the idea that the trauma was the reality, it wasn't, because it was the interpretation of the trauma from mind that was the realest thing. And I saw people that you would think would go one way, they stopped using from the accident. Others, they started getting loaded. Yeah. And a lot of people now present trauma as the source of everything, but it's not trauma, it's mind. It's the dreaming, yeah, that can give meaning to the trauma. But the trauma doesn't give us meaning. We give it meaning first. As the Course in Miracles describes, the hierarchy of this dreaming is the mind projects, and then there's a perceiving of that as the dreamt. So that which is dreaming is now presenting itself or finds itself in the dream as a dreamt. And now it's perceiving what's been dreamt as real. Why waste time trying to convince that it other? Just see it from the dreaming, not from the dreamt. So see the dreamt from the dreaming. Yeah. And let the dreamt have its fucking belief. Because this idea of convincing people they don't have free will when they have a sense of individuality doesn't go anywhere. You can, for 3 weeks in a controlled environment, you can be totally convinced. And when you go out that first night to Baskin Robbins and you're confronted with 28 flavors, and you thought you were going to have mocha for the hour of getting there, and then you switch to vanilla, there you go. I have free will. Why waste time? It's a program. It's not AI. It's a program. You've seen its limitations. Take it to be so. You see that it's failed, not in its own little realm, but when it's taken to be us, it fails miserably. Yes? So you see it. There's not more you need to know. What can a failed system show you? It's failed. You've got the fucking master class. Yeah. So all that faith and belief can move. You don't direct it, but it migrates. It migrates from what doesn't work to something that works. Yeah. And I don't want to describe that because why would you want a conceptual idea of what it's going to look like? It's going to be more weight you're going to have to let go of. Yeah. Just know what you're not, and you'll find out what it's like. Yeah. By seeing what you're not. Yeah. Understand that. Yeah. And that triggers, that knowledge is going to trigger the knowing of I am, which is a perpetual sense of being now. It doesn't have any time to turn into knowledge. It's just knowing. Yeah. Knowing. It doesn't turn into knowledge. It doesn't turn into fact. Yeah. It's knowing. Your awareness of it, your awareness itself. So, yeah. I just like fell down the stairs backwards. And then each stair made an impression. And then when I got to the floor, it got reverse engineered. And then I realized I went up the stairs basically based on falling down the stairs. And I saw, Jesus, what I tripped on was the selfing. And self can't get out of self. Yeah. So that which is of time cannot get out of time. But we're not of time. So we can see through time. We can see in time. We can see through time. Yeah. And let that percolate. Yeah. It's going to even affect the brain that's interpreting to the body, of which is it a part. It's going to stun the brain. And you're going to find other aspects of the brain that aren't found through self-centeredness. God. The brain is going to be quite useful in a lot of ways. Intuitive thought, hunch, sense of knowing, those become more and more obvious because you're not accessing that myopic view all day. You're now seeing a myopic view in a panoramic view. Yeah, yeah. Which the myopic cannot see the panoramic. It sees everything myopically. So to it, a panoramic view is a myopic view because it sees everything as itself. Yeah. The panoramic holds the myopic. Yeah. There's acceptance of it. It's not fighting. It's not an argument with it. It just lets it be. Yeah. It's the myopic that's wrestling with its fucking self. The panoramic isn't asking or demanding anything. It's just, it's in a field of acceptance. Yeah. And we can mimic it a little bit. This is one of the biggest effects it had. It was like changing the atmosphere I was breathing. There was no acceptance in the mental atmosphere I was breathing in years. There was no acceptance to be found. Yeah. And then some new oxygen was getting pumped in. And I started getting different breaths, just like when we drive through a eucalyptus forest. You can smell the eucalyptus. I started smelling something called acceptance. And I was in it. This was finally getting accepted. And the way it got accepted by was seeing it was not me. It has so much burden and responsibility when it was seen as me. And it just couldn't rise to the task. It was like a half-ton pickup and you were putting 4 tons on it. It can't fucking hold the weight. Yeah. Once that was relieved, man, and then I bred in that atmosphere. First, it had to be pumped in. Now I'm in it. Yeah. I'm in acceptance in a lot of ways. And I don't mean I don't accept a lot of shit on the surface, but on the bottom, I do. I accept a lot of shit. I accept that this is not managerial quality. And it's best to abstain from any kind of mind-altering thing. Yeah, it's just better. The cow will be a better cow. Yes. So, but I'm not the cow, which is such a great, it's the greatest news for the cow that I'm not the cow. It really is. The cow got the greatest break. Yeah. Yeah, so here we are, another Wednesday. This was brought me to an abrupt halt. I haven't moved 20 something years. I couldn't get over it. I really believe humbly, if you don't see this mental activity of claiming, you're going to be looking for it. Yeah, all of your point of view is going to be rooted in what comes after. Yeah, and you've had faith in it for so long, it's going to be difficult to really look at it with a truthful, fearless view, because you think there's a lot of you in there and you don't want to see a lot of it. Yeah. Can you imagine if you felt like you separated from the Godhead? Like they talk about it in the Course in Miracles. The big thing is guilt, yes? And that here, we're feeling so guilty as this face and this mask. What we try to do is point out all the other people that are more guilty and put on a nicer mask. And that's the drive of the head. It's trying to dump an incredible amount of guilt on others. Yeah. And of course it doesn't work. So, and the guilt arises from this feeling that when someone says all there is love, and you've looked at the news that day, or you treated someone badly, or you were mean to the lady at Frontier, it doesn't sort of jive that all there is love. And of course, and then you get this idea that, oh, it should always be love. And if it isn't, it's because of fucking you, yeah? Just like when they told me my father was hit a point where he got so ill he wasn't going to be able to play with me anymore. They sat me down. I remember it to the day. It was a picnic table outside the house. My mother and the doctor, Dr. Jan, we had a family doctor mostly back then. Yeah. And so they were telling me what it was going to be like in the next few months with my father, that he wasn't going to play with me like he used to. Yeah, he wouldn't be able to take me to baseball and shit like that. I heard it. I had an intellect. I understood it. But how I felt was, what did I do to cause my father not to want to play with me? This is that inherent guilt. You're not going to get out of it as it. Yeah. You are not going to be, as the carrier of the guilt, you're not going to be the one that puts it down. It's not going to work. Yeah. But if you see it as not you, then things can work. Yes. And to me, this message is thoroughly disarming. Every time you feel like you got to do, it just disarms you. It takes off the rug from underneath your feet. And so you're left there in a pause. And when your head stops, something continues. And hopefully there'll be an alliance with that something that continues, and you'll lose some alliance with the head. Yes. The more it is revealed, I would imagine you're going to lean more and more to that whatever you want to call it, yes, and less into the head. Yeah. So hallelujah. I'm so stoked about it. Yeah. I'm stoked about it since, wow, it's incredible. It's incredible. It's not a meritocracy to travel lighter. You don't have to earn it. It's given without condition, basically. You breathe it more than you earn it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had such a great gift, Amelia and I, our relationship with this house and stuff, and maybe it's going to end like things do. But man, Amelia and I, we've been here every moment, every second. There's not been one moment that we were here that we weren't here. That's fucking good. I mean, you can really leave a place because you were there completely. So you can leave a place. People who are afraid of dying haven't been living. They just want another chance because they haven't been available. When you're available, things come to an end, and then other things are available. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't feel I will be gypped or anything because we were here all constantly. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. That's not something you acquire. It's something that can express through you. Yeah. I humbly believe if you don't see what we're sharing here, you're going to be looking from it. You're going to be looking from the effect. Yeah. Instead of looking at the cause. The cause is not you. And that severely limits the effect it's going to have. Yeah. The cause is an imaginary idea of an imaginary thing that's making you feel real feelings and real stresses and real anxieties, but then they're causeless effects, so to speak. Yeah. You're dreaming it in a sense. Yeah. Wow. So, yep. All right. Thank you. I went on because we had a live audience today. Even the dog got calm. That's awesome. Look at her. She received satsang. Look at her.
Lola.
Look at those eyes. She the beast got subdued. Yes, that's awesome, man. So yeah, thank you. Anybody have any questions here? Yes, no? Or here?
Want to raise
Here,
your hand?
here, here, here. Yeah,
Behind you.
behind me. There I am. And Ali explained to me, if I would look, I would only see the back of my head. I was missing that. I thought it would be the same. See, yeah, I learned. No, no one. All right. Well, we're just going to start saying goodbye. Short and sweet. Yes. Michael.
Kathleen woke up for goodbyes.
Eh?
Kathleen woke up for goodbyes.
Oh, Kathleen, great. Kathleen has reached the level where she takes everything in through osmosis. Yes, yes, yes. That's why the couch is like the living scripture. Just lay down, take a nap, you'll wake up much clearer. Yes, it's all coming through, honey. Just everywhere. All right, Andy S. Nice to see you, Andy. Yeah. Kerry. What's the lovely lady's name, Kerry?
My battery's dying. The lovely lady's name is
I'm
Carol.
Carol. Nice to meet you,
Carol.
Carol. I'm
Yeah,
not done.
nice to meet you too.
Yes, I'm
One
gonna.
day I'll ask you a question, but not today.
That's good. I wish everyone did the same thing. Yeah. David. Nice to see you down under. Jacob. Mr. Churchman. Dennis W. James Olson. Oh, the Olson brothers are one-twoing me lately. Kathleen. Terry from Camarillo. Alan Olson. Mika from Finland. Frank, human anatomy with a great desire for mayonnaise. John K, formerly known as Jet. Yes, there he is. Lynn D, it's the cloudless sky, Lindy, the cloudless sky. Harry. Harry. Amelia says hello. Nice to see you, honey. Yeah. iPhone Mia down in San Diego. Here we say hello to Mia, everybody. Hi, Mia. Mia's usually here on Wednesday. She's in San Diego now. No matter how many people we have here, no one can replace you, Mia. Yeah. Susan H, Eric Platt, Floyd, Miss Amelia, she's right here, Shannon Corkery, Susanna, yeah, we're just gonna come and get it tomorrow after around 12. Anand.
Don't worry about it.
No, I know, but I think we want to do it, get it out of the way. Anand Sindhu. Let's see, we got phone numbers, we got Fletch, Susanna, Lindy, Susanna. I think I got everyone. Hey, listen, thank you so much for tonight. It was a great pleasure. Yeah, and just admit you can't take yourself too seriously. You can't do it. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Deepak.